telling this reading vlog in a full face of makeup, but this is probably not going to be the norm, so please do not get used to it. So it's currently Sunday, it's Easter Sunday actually, and it is the start of a new reading week. So my plans for this week are actually, I've got 2 books on my list, more if I can do, but my main sort of goal of the week is to read Vicious and then Vengeful afterwards. So I've already read Vicious. This one is a reread. I read it probably, I don't know how many years ago. I remember it was on New Year's Eve. I used to have another copy of this, which I hated the cover, so I replaced it with this beautiful sort of special edition. Bought Vengeful as soon as it came out and then never picked it up. And now it's got to the point where I do not remember enough of Vicious to pick up Vengeful and fully sort of engage in the story. So my plan for the week, like I said, to do a reread of Vicious should be fairly quick because I know that I love it. I've already read it. And then I will pick up Vengeful and hopefully love that one as much, and then have the sort of agonising wait for the sequel to come out because apparently there is going to be a 3rd one. But I'll talk about that later. Before I start reading today, I'm actually going to go and visit my sister. Like I said, it's Easter Sunday, and in the UK we have new rules where we are able to go meet people outside. So as a family we are going to go and meet my sister I haven't seen since near Christmas. And yeah, have a nice day. So I'm going to read some of this in the car. I'm not driving, obviously. I believe there are some sprints later that Maddie at Book Browsing Blog is going to be hosting, so I'll get on those and hopefully that'll help me to make a good dinner in reading this. And I will catch up later and let you know my sort of feelings on this, but spoiler alert, I'm going to love it. Hello, so quick update. It's been a little bit since I spoke to you last actually. I think I originally planned on sort of coming on here in the afternoon once I got home, but got home and sort of just crashed basically. So had a lovely morning but then needed some rest. So only in the last sort of hour or so have I started reading again. So I am currently 60 pages into Vicious. Loving it on a reread. I actually forgot a lot more of this than I thought I had. So the basic story for anyone that doesn't know is that it follows 2 characters, Victor and Eli, who were college roommates. While they were at college, their sort of thesis project for senior year was experiments trying to create something called EOs, which are extraordinaries or superheroes, for lack of a better word, people with sort of special abilities. Although in this case it's more like super villains because things sort of take a turn, and the sort of setup for the main story is that one of them has been in prison for the last 10 years and has now got out or escaped, and sort of makes it his mission to track down the other one. And throughout this story you're kind of finding out how they got the powers, what happened that led one of them to go to prison, what has happened since then, what's going to happen when they eventually meet up. The thing with this book is that neither of these characters is particularly likeable. Like, neither of them is a good guy. They both definitely have issues, and I love that about it because I love sort of a more morally grey character. I can easily say that Victor is my favourite of the 2, although Victor is also the one who's kind of the main character. It's all really told from Victor's point of view, although both of them are very integral to it. One of the things I did forget about this is actually I knew it was told from multiple timelines and it's not necessarily linear. So we do jump back and forth a lot between past and present, but I forgot quite how much it jumped, and I forgot that it's not just 2 timelines, it's multiple. So I had it in my head for some reason that it was present day, sort of post prison break, and then past when the powers were first developed. What I forgot was that actually in between that you do have that, but then you've also got storyline from sort of 2 days before that, and then a storyline from the prison break, and there might even be some more later on, I can't remember. But yeah, they were sort of switching between about 4 different timelines at the minute, which I find is really interesting because you're kind of piecing the storyline together bit by bit. Like, you're watching the most modern setting where one of them has escaped from prison and is going after the other, and you know that that meet-up is going to happen, but then in the past tense they're still very much friends and they haven't actually even developed their powers yet. So it's interesting to sort of figure out how they went from there to here. But yeah, as you can probably tell, I'm very much enjoying this one. Again, I can remember why I loved it so much the first time. There are bits that I'm definitely sort of going, oh yeah, I remember that happening. There's bits where I'm like, how did I completely block this out? Have I even read this book before? It's about 400 pages long, so at the rate I'm reading it, it should take me 3 to 4 days. Depending on sort of fitting the reading around work, but I do think that the more I get into this, quicker I'm going to read it. Tomorrow I don't really have any plans, so I might just sort of power through and get as much done as possible. I'm going to carry on reading today and hopefully get to about 150 before I go to sleep. It might be the last update of the night because I am going to get myself in bed now. I'm still felt sort of crash when I got home and I'm still not feeling like the most energetic, so I'm tempted just to have a bit of a self-care night, lay in bed, read my book, watch The Circle. I'm slightly addicted to that show at the minute, but I will catch up in the morning, so I'll let you know where I'm at, and yeah, we'll see how we get. I'm really excited to finish this one because I'm really excited to move on to Vengeful. So I clearly ended up not updating you guys at all last night. As you can probably tell, it is daytime now. It's Monday, it's about midday. Last night I sort of just got in bed and I had great plans of reading, and then was just so tired that I watched The Circle and I went to sleep. So I haven't really made much progress in Vicious. I'm still on, I've read a couple of chapters this morning, but I'm still only on page 70. So that is my plan for the rest of the afternoon. Spent this morning updating my reading journal, which I got very behind on that. I needed to sort of finish off my pages for March and then also fill in my pages so far in April. I'm really liking that Day of the Readathon where I read quite a lot, and then compared to yesterday where I read basically nothing. But yeah, updated that, tidied my room a little bit. Plan now is to go and make myself some coffee, see if I can finally get some energy because I'm still so tired. Just can't seem to wake up this morning. But yeah, I'm gonna go make coffee and carry on with Vicious. Don't really have any other thoughts about the book to tell you because obviously I told you all about that last time we spoke. Not much has happened in the last 10 pages. I will let you guys know how I get on with this today. Hopefully be able to make some decent progress because I am sort of back at work tomorrow, so we'll have less time to read. We're reading mainly in the evenings. Speaking of evenings, I believe there will be sprints. It's Monday, so there should be sprints on. Gavin normally does sprints tonight, so jump on those. I find that sprints are really helpful. I only sort of really started watching sprints in like the last month, but that's kind of where the majority of my reading comes in now. I do like that sort of time where you will concentrate on this. So yeah, probably jump on some sprints later. Should make decent progress in this. And until then, yeah, let's go get coffee. So I am watching sprints and I have my book, I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting for Gav to catch up with comments and then should get some reading done tonight. Looking forward to it, really sort of ready to dive back into this book. So I am utterly failing at vlogging this week, but the reason I'm failing at vlogging is because I'm failing at reading. So update, it is Tuesday evening. It is, I think what day it was then. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and I think the last time I spoke to you actually was last night when I was on sprints, and I am back on sprints again. This time they're Patreon sprints with Jade and Steph, and I'll link both their channels below. But yeah, I am just failing at reading at the minute. I can feel a reading slump coming on, which and usually my sort of advice for a reading slump is to pick up an old favourite, which I'm already doing, and I am loving what I am reading of this book, like so much more than last time I read it. Also, don't remember the entirety of it. I think that because I do remember enough of it, when I read things it's all clicking a lot quicker than it did before. And I'm not reading. I am 142 pages into this. It's 420 pages long, so I'm just over a quarter of the way through. But I really wanted to be like pretty much finishing it by now. I did go back to work today after the bank holiday weekend, so obviously that has eaten into my reading time a little bit. But then even like last night or yesterday, I should have had plenty of time to read, and I just didn't. Every time I picked up the book, I just couldn't concentrate. So I don't know. I'm gonna try and push through. If it's still sort of not working by tomorrow, then I might pick up something else. We'll see. Tomorrow's a hectic day for other reasons, so I might end up not really updating tomorrow, but I'll talk to you guys on Thursday, and hopefully by then, I might talk to you again tonight. I'm going to try and read some more of this before I go to sleep, because I don't know how long these sprints are happening for, but the camera's falling. The camera just fell a little bit, so sorry if the angle's changed. But as I was saying, I don't know how long these sprints are going on for, but I'll probably stay on them till the end. I don't have to wake up. It's a busy day tomorrow, but I don't have to wake up too early. So we'll see how it goes. The camera's falling again, so I'm going to disappear. I'm going to get back to read my book. I finished it. We are currently on the second sprint, and the first one was 40 minutes, which was perfect because that was just how much time I needed to read this. And yeah, I loved this book so much. The first time I read it, I gave it 4 stars. I don't quite know why I only gave it 4, but on reread it is definitely a 5. Just, I loved everything. I love the writing. Schwab is one of my all-time favourites. I love the characters in this one. Like I said before, they're not particularly likeable characters, but they're so interesting, and the story is so interesting as well. Just everything about it. I mean, I put it through, I don't know if any of you use Corpile, but I put it through there and every aspect of it got 10. So it ended up obviously as a 5 stars. I think I did definitely notice things more, or at least sort of had more time to contemplate them, because I had an idea of where the story was going. I was able to look at more of the intricacies of it, which I do think this book actually really works well for a reread. It does jump back and forth a lot during the time, and I think that might be my issue with it the first time, is I just wasn't expecting it to do that. And I don't think I really knew much about it other than the sort of anti-hero supervillains, and knowing sort of how that system worked and what the bigger themes of it were, I was a lot more prepared this time, and that helped me to enjoy it a lot more. One of the main things that I've sort of found really intriguing this time was the idea of religion within it, and how sort of Eli's character justifies a lot of his actions through his religion and has kind of like a god complex, which really clouds his judgment, because he kind of passes judgment on everyone else for something that he is actually guilty of himself. Really interesting seeing how he can use that religion side of it to justify himself, so he almost sees himself as a god and the rest of them as devils. And I just found that it made his character, whilst his character isn't likeable and is definitely sort of morally grey, you can see where his morals come from, and I just found that really interesting to explore. The other thing is as I mentioned at the beginning, Victor was sort of the character that it was all told from. Then about halfway through it does switch, and you start to get more of Eli's point of view as well. And through the first half you are definitely sort of team Victor. And I will still say that Victor is probably my favourite character in it, although again, do not completely agree with everything that he does. There's definitely, he's not a good guy, none of them are, but in the first half in particular, Eli is very much set up as the villain, and then you sort of start to see it from his perspective, and you start to understand his motives whilst not agreeing with them at the same time. So I think that those sort of mixed perspectives and seeing it from different people's point of view throughout really made you question a lot, especially in a story where nothing is black and white. Can you tell that I really love this book? I mean, I loved it, but also like to the point where I can't talk about it properly. My thoughts are there, but they're not coherent. One of the other things that I really loved was the relationships in this book, particularly between Sydney and Victor. It was really interesting to see that develop, and I'm really intrigued now to finally carry on with the sequel. I think the first time I read it, I was more sort of focused on the Eli-Victor friendship and how that turned sour, and now it was more a case of, and I like seeing how this relationship grows in a more positive way instead. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the blackout poetry. I am a big fan of blackout poetry. I read a book last year by Alicia Cook, and that was a book where it was sort of told in 2 halves. So it was a poetry book. The first half was regular poetry, and then the second half repeated all the points in the first half but as blackout poetry, and kind of twisted the meaning of them a lot, and I loved that. I really like sort of that turning something into something else. I don't know why blackout poetry just really works for me, and there is blackout poetry throughout this, and it is, I'll see if I can find it there. Yeah, I found it now, so that it's actually sort of on the page physically, and I just really like that, just because the blackout poetry is something I like, so I just liked how that was sort of brought into the story. And probably the final thought I have on it is the ending. This book came out in 2013, I believe, and the sequel came out in 2018, so it's a 5-year wait between the two. I do believe that, I mean, when I originally read it, the sequel had not been announced, or it had only recently been announced. I think when I bought it, it had not been announced, but then by the time I got around to reading it, it had. And from what I remember, a lot of people did think it was a standalone. It does kind of read like a standalone, like the ending's open, but it's not a cliffhanger. Knowing there is a sequel, it could be perceived that way, but it could also very easily leave there and it'd be fine. I'm now intrigued though. I think the way it was is that Schwab wasn't necessarily sure if she would get a sequel to it. And I know that she did have a series before, the archived series, that didn't get picked up for sequels, so there's 2 of those, but it's left open-ended. I believe that with this one it was a case of she wrote it in a way that it could be on its own, but then also always had the idea of doing more. And then obviously with the success of things like the Dark Shade and Magic series, she was able to carry on writing it. So that's why Vengeful exists. I have watched interviews with her and I know that she said she has always thought of it as a 3-book series. And the 3rd one, we don't have a date for yet, but it is coming, hopefully sometime in the next couple of years. But I'm thinking, because by the time she wrote Vengeful, she possibly was in that position to know that the 3rd one's definitely going to happen. I'm worried that that's going to be more of a cliffhanger, so I might have just got myself in for a difficult waiting period, but I'll try as much as I can. We interrupt this reading vlog to show you this fun thing that came today. So this is pre-order campaign for As Far As You'll Take Me by Phil Stamper. So we got the book here. I actually read this last month and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it enough. And I also really, really love all the little goodies you get. So if you submitted your receipt, you got this, which is a sticker of the US cover, which you can see it's slightly different from the UK one. I love them both, so it's nice to have the US one. Also got this, have book, will travel. I mean, I would travel, but you know, can't at the minute. Never mind. And then this, which is a signed bookplate, just got a little Heathrow immigration stamp on it. Just realised I'm wearing like a high neck and it looks like I have no neck, but I promise I do. So it's Thursday night now. Haven't had a chance to read too much physically today. I have made a start on Vengeful, but yeah, sort of busy day at work, followed by then kind of just being tired and also spending time with family, which meant I didn't read a lot. When I was able to though, I did pick up the audiobook. Like I said, so this one's actually on script. This just wasn't, otherwise I probably would have just listened to all of that as an audiobook because I already read it, but it wasn't a script and I didn't have an Audible credit. I didn't really want to pay for it when I knew I had the physical and I knew I could get my way through it. It just might take me a bit longer. But this one, I made the choice to pick up the audiobook a little bit and really like the audiobook actually. I'm liking what I've read of this so far. So I'm on page 6 today in the physical book. It's about 10% of the way through. The audiobook is 12 hours long I think, but I'm listening to it on double speed because it's fairly slow. So I mean, if I manage to sort of alternate, I'm doing my finger, if I manage to alternate between physical and audio, should get a good chunk of this done tomorrow. And then obviously Saturday, when I'm not working, so I may have a little bit more time. Although I do plan on baking on Saturday, but you know, audiobook while baking. Yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. It's set mainly sort of 5 years after Vicious, although the flashbacks, it still has the sort of non-linear, not completely linear timing of it, so it's jumping back and forth. The threads in it are linear, but it's jumping back and forth between them, so we're going between sort of 5 years after Vicious and then straight after Vicious. We've been introduced to 2 new characters. We have Marcella, who has appeared very, very briefly, and then we've just had June, who Victor has just met. Interesting to see a little bit more about those 2. June in particular's power seems very interesting. I don't know, it just feels like the powers in the first one were a little bit more simple, but now because we're meeting other Rios in here, without sort of going into spoilers too much of how a Neo comes about, that's kind of the whole premise of the first book. But there's reasoning why new Rios will have been able to be created since the first one, so that leaves it up to a lot more different types of powers. So I'm intrigued to see sort of a bigger breadth of characters. Also interesting because we've seen most of the characters in the first book, but there's still a couple that we haven't yet, so I'm waiting for those to pop back up. I'm trying to talk and I'm sorry if I don't sound really tired, but I am, and I know it's been the theme of all week, but it's just been one of those weeks. Probably not the best one to choose as my first reading vlog, but I am reading 2 books that I'm very excited for reading, so even if I am low energy, trust me when I say that my passion for these books isn't. Hopefully by the time I come to like a full wrap up at the end of the week, I'll be able to muster a little bit more. Right now I might try and listen to another few chapters on the audiobook today, maybe try and get closer to page 100. So I realised that I've sat down to start filming this and I've left Vengeful behind the camera. If I move, I will knock the camera over. So I'm just going to talk to you. It's Saturday. I didn't end up filming anything yesterday. I didn't sit down and start reading until like near enough midnight, and I was already in bed and I read for like an hour before I went to sleep. But I couldn't bother to get my camera out. I read about 60 pages, so I'm about 127, I think it is, into Vengeful at the minute. Which is in parts, so that's the beginning of part 2. I've been mainly listening to the audiobook. I'm very much enjoying the audiobook. I am enjoying the story actually, but I do feel like it's going to take me a little bit longer than sort of Vicious did, because Vicious was quite fast paced right from the beginning, but also I'd already read it, whereas with Vengeful, I feel like it is setting up a lot of story. It's filling in the blanks from last time, but the action itself for this book hasn't really started yet. I mean, there's still 500 pages left, so there's still a lot to go. But yeah, I've been filming this morning, hence the done-up face and this sort of setup. You might see that video before this one, you might see it after. I haven't really decided yet. But my plans for the rest of the day are to tidy up from what I've been filming. And I think I said earlier in the video I was going to bake today, but that's going to be tomorrow, so that'll be in next week's vlog. But yeah, I'm going to see how much I can get read today. Probably won't end up finishing the book in this vlog, but I will give you a bit of a wrap up later on where I do get to, and then finish it in, like I said, next week's vlog. So tune in for that one. And yes, I am going to go and stop rambling at the camera and get tidied so I can go back to reading. I'm actually probably going to put the audiobook on while I finish tidying my room. Hello. So it's actually Sunday morning now. I didn't end up sort of wrapping up this vlog last night, so I thought I'd really quickly just come on and do a summary of what I've read this week. So I started the week reading Vicious and read that one over the course of about 4 days. It was a reread for me, and it ended up being a 5-star. It was 4 when I first read it, and it's upped itself to a 5-star. I love that book so much. I'm really happy that I've decided to carry on this series. Just sort of the action of it. I've read a lot more of Schwab's writing since I first read Vicious, so I know that I really love her writing style now, and that paired with the story and sort of the intrigue around it all, for me, worked really, really well. I loved the sort of timeline aspect of it, where it was more non-linear and you're having to kind of puzzle it together as it goes through. And yeah, just absolutely adored it. And then the second book I picked up this week, I haven't finished yet, but it's Vengeful. I ended up on page 229 before I went to sleep last night, so I've made a dent. I'm getting there. That's just under 600 pages long, so I have actually, I'm going to film an update in a minute for the next vlog, but I have made some decent progress on it this morning, so you should see me finishing that one in the next reading vlog. Really enjoying what I have read so far, but if you want to know a bit more in-depth thoughts on how I'm feeling about it, tune into the next video. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff underneath. Thanks for watching, and I am going to go and film a clip for my next video. Bye.